Donald Trump, you have poked the bear, and we will punch back. We're here because Donald Trump, on January 6th, tried to light democracy on fire, tried to wreck this country, tried to steal an election, and here we are, in open and plain sight, before one vote is cast in the 2026 midterm election, and here he is once again trying to rig the system. He doesn't play by a different set of rules. He doesn't believe in the rules. We have got to recognize the cards that have been dealt, and we have got to meet fire with fire.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the Midas Touch Network. California is stepping up in response to an attempt by Texas Republicans to disenfranchise that state's Democratic voters with a mid-decade redistricting scheme ordered by Donald Trump. California has vowed to answer in kind. This is not how democracies should behave, but it's the reality in which we now live. The Trump regime has reduced us to this level of power politics, and Gavin Newsom is right. We must fight fire with fire. Last week, I shared part one of my interview with James Talarico, one of the Texas Democrats leading this fight. As much credit as Governor Newsom deserves for picking up the torch, let's not forget what inspired all this. A handful of brave elected Democrats in Texas who are risking arrest and worse to hold the line. I spoke with James Talarico from an undisclosed location outside the state after Texas's Republican Attorney General encouraged vigilantes to hunt them down, and after the President of the United States suggested sending the FBI to pursue them. Here is part two of that conversation.
The President of the United States, the most powerful man in the country, has asked Texas lawmakers to redraw the maps that they already drew in 2021. The maps they already gerrymandered in 2021. He wants them to gerrymander it further in the middle of the decade so that he can get 5 more seats, because he's worried about losing his majority in Congress because his policies are unpopular. Kicking millions of people off their health care to fund tax cuts for billionaires, there should be consequences for that policy. The voters get to decide and evaluate, and then they can send in a Congress to hold that executive accountable. And so the last step of all this is that to pass these new maps in Texas, you need a certain number of legislators on the floor of the Texas House to conduct business, and that's called a quorum. And Democrats in the state House are a pretty big minority. A lot of people think Texas is this really red state. It's actually much more of a pink state when you look at the data. Democrats lose statewide elections in Texas by only single digits nowadays. And so we represent, as Democrats, about 42, 43% of the seats. So we're a big minority, and it means they need us to have a quorum. It means that they need our consent to conduct business. We provide that consent all the time. Even for the worst bills, right? A private school voucher bill that is going to defund Texas public schools. We didn't break quorum. The most extreme abortion ban in the country that is endangering the lives of women and girls across our state. We didn't break quorum. We didn't even break quorum when they gerrymandered the last maps in 2021, because that's when you're supposed to redistrict. We're breaking quorum now because they are attempting to rig the next election. They're attempting to cheat. Republicans have won statewide elections in Texas for 30 years. They have a right to govern as the majority. We have the right to check them as the minority. And they are abusing their power by trying to execute this power grab at the behest of Donald Trump. That's why we've taken this dramatic step of denying them quorum to prevent these maps from passing.
What's the end game? Because, as you said, we don't want the tit for tat. This is, if you pull back, it's bad for democracy, right? But we're in an existential fight here to preserve democracy. And
right.
I mean, the governor has tools at his disposal as well. He can just call another special session. The end game really here is, well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but for my part, it's raising the consciousness and the sense of alarm. Beyond that, do you have a tactical end game? Yeah,
I mean, I think that is probably the most important part of this quorum break. We're only, 56 Texas Democratic legislators. There's only so much we can do, but we're hoping to inspire the state, inspire the country to respond to this crisis in our democracy and to fix this democracy. We Democrats oftentimes talk about saving or preserving democracy. This democracy is deeply broken. It is not working for a lot of people, including a lot of working people in states like Texas. So this democracy needs to be fixed, not preserved. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to shine a spotlight on this power grab. And one of the best things I've seen over the past week since we've done this is the Google search results for gerrymandering and redistricting. It's gone through the roof. Suddenly, and I put up a couple TikToks explaining what this is all about. They've gotten millions of views across this past week. So people are waking up to what's happening. Normally, what would be a real insider story, political process, inside baseball, suddenly the broader public is understanding how politicians rig the game, how politicians in power silence the people's voices and pass these unpopular policies that keep us down, that keep our wages suppressed, that gut our healthcare, that defund our schools. And so this is hugely important. But I will also say, in addition to raising consciousness, we have pressured these blue states to start to respond. And you've seen California make their announcement about their special election to redraw their maps. And I'm hoping that hardball pressure will convince Republicans in Texas, maybe even Republicans nationally, to walk back from the brink. Not because they think it's the moral thing to do, but just because they know strategically their gains in Texas are going to be wiped out in a state like California. Right. So maybe that mutually assured destruction can prevent all of us from going down this dangerous path.
Hey, it's Ken Harbaugh. Quick break to say thank you to everyone who's been following and supporting this show and this channel. None of it happens without you. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my Substack page, I'd really appreciate the follow. It's a great way to make sure you never miss an episode. It's free to sign up. And if you're able to pitch in a few bucks, every dollar goes back into the show. Just search for The Ken Harbaugh Show on Substack or click the link below. Thanks. It's a shame we're at this point, but I think you are absolutely right to provoke this conversation. As I shared with you before I hit record, I've interviewed a lot of people from undisclosed locations. I've been to them. I'm headed back to Ukraine soon. I never imagined I would be having a conversation with an elected American politician from an undisclosed location there out of fear of his own state government. It's got to feel incredibly surreal.
And normally, we wouldn't be so afraid of our state government because there are arrest warrants and are going to be nullified in a different state. Their threats to remove us from office wouldn't hold legal muster. The legal basis for these lawsuits are pretty laughable on their face. But we're in a new era. And we have the federal government now to worry about. I mean, if Donald Trump can use the FBI as his personal police force, then we have a real problem. And so this, again, should just be a testament to how things have changed. I remember, there have been about 150 years of quorum breaks in Texas. It's a time-honored tradition. We're one of 4 states where this ability to break quorum is protected in our state's constitution. It's a tool the minority uses to check the majority. And so, Texas House Democrats broke quorum when I was in middle school because of a mid-decade redistricting attempt by Tom DeLay, who later went to prison. And when they did that, the Republicans, did some pranks back home, and they put up a poster that said Texas Dems and ET phone home, right? Just like fun little stuff, because they understood that Texas Democrats in the minority, we have few options, and we've got to fight for our constituents, and we've got to fight for our beliefs. And they gave us the ability to do that as the loyal opposition. That's changed now. Now they're talking about arrests. They're talking about vacating our seats. They're talking about sending in the FBI, asking people to hunt us down, and encouraging violent actions like bomb threats. I mean, this just tells you how much our politics has changed, how our civic discourse has corroded in this country. The ties that once bound us together have been frayed and weakened over 10 years of Donald Trump. And we're seeing the results of that with this most recent quorum break.
Well, James, stay strong. We've got your back. We are watching what you're doing. We're inspired by it. And please stay safe and pass that along to your Texas Democratic colleagues.
Well, and since you are a Texan, you got Texas roots, we appreciate you covering this and helping us shine a spotlight on what's happening in our state.
Thanks, James.